The massive Trilaxian ambassador Koth towered over the human delegation in the gleaming meeting hall. His 12-foot frame made the humans look like children in comparison. Admiral Kim stood tall despite being less than half the alien's height. "You are much smaller than we expected," Koth said, his deep voice rumbling as his 4 eyes examined the humans with curiosity. "The reports mentioned your size, but seeing it is different." Admiral Kim kept his face neutral. "We may be small by your standards, Ambassador, but humans have accomplished much despite our size." Koth made a sound that might have been a laugh. Of course. The Galactic Coalition welcomes all spacefaring races, regardless of their limitations." Behind the ambassador stood his security team, massive warriors with armor that gleamed under the lights. Each carried weapons larger than a human child. They watched the human delegation with what looked like amusement. The meeting continued for hours. The aliens spoke of trade, cultural exchange, and mutual protection. They showed holographic displays of their vast fleet, their enormous cities spanning multiple moons, and their mighty armies. When it was Earth's turn to present, Admiral Kim showed images of human cities, art, and military forces. He noticed the subtle shifts in the aliens' postures, the way they exchanged glances when they saw the size of Earth's largest battleship, barely the size of a coalition transport vessel. Later that day, in the vast coalition council chambers, footage of Earth's military forces played for representatives of 30 different alien species. Most were giant compared to humans. The smallest stood 8 feet tall, while others reached nearly 20. "They call this an army?" rumbled General Voss of the Drenari Empire, his scaled skin glinting in the chamber's light. "Look at their tiny weapons, their small ships." Laughter spread through the chamber. "The tiny army of Earth," Voss continued, earning more laughter. "Perhaps we should give them toy soldiers to match." Unknown to the laughing aliens, hidden cameras carried this feed back to Earth. In a secure room below Seoul, President Park watched with Defense Secretary Lee and a team of military advisors. "They don't see us as equals," Secretary Lee said, her voice tight with anger. "No," Admiral Kim agreed after returning from the meeting. "They see us as children, or pets." President Park stood by the window looking out at the city lights. "What do you recommend, Admiral?" "Let them underestimate us," Kim said. "We've faced long odds before in our history. While they laugh, we prepare." That night, as coalition diplomats enjoyed a feast with Earth's political leaders, Captain Min led a small team through the alien embassy. The coalition had built it quickly using their standard designs made for beings twice the size of humans. "Look at these air ducts," Min whispered to Sergeant Ju as they crawled through spaces the aliens considered too small for proper use. "They're large enough for us to move freely." Below them, they could hear the aliens discussing Earth. "Their resources are valuable," one voice said, "and they'll be easy to control if needed. The Security Council is considering making them a protectorate," another replied. "For their own protection, of course." Min and Ju exchanged glances in the dim light. They continued placing tiny listening devices in locations the aliens would never think to check. Back at Earth Defense Headquarters, Colonel Bay studied the alien technology specifications they had been given as part of the cultural exchange. "Their ships are built for power, not speed," he told his engineering team. "And look at these access points, designed for maintenance by their standards." He pointed to sections of the schematics. "A human could fit through these easily. They've never had to defend against smaller adversaries." Over the next few weeks, Earth's governments quietly unified their military forces while maintaining a friendly diplomatic face. Scientists studied the aliens' biology, finding potential weaknesses. Engineers adapted human weapons and tactics to counter larger opponents. In training facilities around the world, special forces practiced new techniques. They learned to use their size as an advantage rather than a weakness. "They think we're weak because we're small," General Choi told his troops. "Throughout human history, overconfidence has been the downfall of many powerful forces." As the coalition continued their diplomatic meetings, discussing Earth's future place in galactic politics, humans prepared in secret. They smiled politely at being called the Tiny Army, while developing strategies that would soon make the aliens regret their laughter. Admiral Kim watched coalition ships moving into positions around Earth's solar system. "Let them laugh for now," he said quietly. "They'll learn soon enough." 6 months after the aliens arrived, Earth's leaders gathered in a hidden underground facility near Mount Pektu. The room was filled with tension as Han, Earth's chief trade negotiator, displayed the latest coalition proposals on the large screen. "These terms are not fair," Han said, pointing to key sections of the document. "They want our rare minerals and water. In exchange, they offer outdated technology that they consider simple." President Park frowned. "They're treating us like a primitive society." General Choi nodded. "Because they still see us as the tiny army. They think we're desperate for their protection." The coalition trade representatives had grown bolder with each meeting. First, they requested small mining rights. Then, they demanded access to Earth's oceans. Now they wanted control of Earth's orbital space for security purposes. On the other side of the world, Lieutenant Ju crept through the ventilation system of the coalition embassy. Her small frame allowed her to move through spaces the 12-foot aliens considered too tiny for any meaningful purpose. She placed her listening device above the ambassador's private chamber and waited. "Earth will become a protectorate within 1 year." Ambassador Koth's voice rumbled through her earpiece. "Their resources are too valuable to leave in such small, weak hands." Another voice responded. "Some council members worry about the humans. They learn quickly." "Nonsense," Koth replied. "Their size makes them naturally inferior. The tiny army is no threat to us." Ju's face hardened as she recorded everything. Later that night, she delivered the evidence to General Choi. "We suspected as much," Choi said after reviewing the recordings. "But there's worse news." He showed her another recording, this one from the Coalition Security Council. Warlord Mez of the Kaldorian Fleet, a 15-foot giant with gray skin, addressed the other alien leaders. "These humans are potentially dangerous," Mez growled. "Small but clever. They ask too many questions about our technology. Better to eliminate the threat now, before they develop further." Several council members nodded in agreement. President Park called an emergency meeting after seeing the evidence. "We need more time," she said. "We must continue appearing cooperative, while preparing our defenses." On the lunar base, Colonel Bay led a team of engineers working day and night. They had studied the aliens' biology and technology, finding weaknesses no one in the coalition had considered. "Their size makes them strong but slow," Bay explained to visiting military leaders. "Their armor has gaps designed for cooling their larger bodies. Perfect targets for our new micromissiles." He demonstrated a weapon small by coalition standards, but deadly effective against their physiology. "They laugh at our tiny weapons, not realizing we've designed them specifically to target their vulnerabilities." Meanwhile, Earth scientists made another discovery. The coalition communication systems used frequencies optimized for their auditory range, leaving gaps that human technology could exploit. "We can listen to everything they say," explained Dr. Song. They never considered that smaller beings might have different sensory capabilities. Tensions escalated when coalition peacekeepers arrived near Hawaii, claiming they needed to establish a monitoring station for mutual protection. Without waiting for Earth's permission, they began construction of a massive floating platform. Admiral Kim received the news with a grim face. "It's time to show them we're not as harmless as they think." That night, Earth's newly developed underwater drones approached the coalition platform. Designed to be invisible to alien sensors, they attached to key structural points beneath the water. Within hours, the entire platform began to sink. The coalition peacekeepers evacuated in confusion. Their emergency calls revealed their shock. "Something is attacking the Foundation. We can't detect what's causing it." By morning, the platform was gone, with no evidence of who was responsible. The coalition commanders were furious, but had no proof of human involvement. "A regrettable accident," President Park told Ambassador Koth during their emergency meeting. "Perhaps your construction wasn't suited to Earth's oceans." Koth's four eyes narrowed. You know nothing about it? Park smiled pleasantly. How could our tiny army possibly damage such advanced coalition technology? After Koth left, Secretary Lee approached Park. They'll respond to this. They won't take such a challenge lightly. Park nodded. We're ready for the next phase. Our lunar defenses are in place, and our special forces are prepared. Across Earth, military units moved into hidden positions. Ships disguised as commercial vessels carried advanced weapons. The coalition still saw only what humans wanted them to see. A small, weak species trying to please their powerful new galactic neighbors. Let them continue underestimating us, Admiral Kim told his officers. Their arrogance is our greatest advantage. As coalition ships moved closer to Earth in a show of force, the humans watched and waited. The tiny army was prepared to show. That size wasn't everything. The coalition's massive ships appeared over the Mars colonies without warning. 3,000 human settlers watched in fear as alien troops landed at each outpost. The message broadcast to Earth was simple. Mars was now under coalition protection. This is a protective action, declared the coalition announcement. The tiny army clearly cannot defend its own outposts. We will ensure the safety of humans on Mars. In the presidential emergency bunker, President Park slammed her fist on the table. The room fell silent as screens showed coalition forces taking control of the Mars bases. They've crossed the line, she said, her voice cold with anger. This cannot stand. Admiral Kim nodded. We're ready, Madam President. Then activate Operation Silent Step. Within hours, 5 specially designed Earth ships departed from hidden bases on the Moon. Unlike standard human vessels, these were nearly invisible to coalition sensors. Each carried 40 members of Earth Special Forces, selected for their exceptional skills in close-quarters combat. Major Song led the first team. As they approached a coalition outpost near Jupiter's moon Europa, he briefed his soldiers one final time. Remember your training, he said. Their size makes them strong, but slow. Use the spaces they consider too small. Target the weak points in their armor. The human ship attached to the coalition outpost at a maintenance port, designed for alien engineers. The 12-foot Trilaxians never imagined that beings half their size could use these connections as entry points. Song's team moved through maintenance tunnels in complete silence. Coalition guards walked above them, unaware of the humans moving. Beneath the floor panels, they've built everything for their scale. Song whispered into his communicator. Air ducts, maintenance tunnels, even their security systems are designed to detect large intruders. We're practically invisible. When the attack came, the coalition forces were completely unprepared. Small explosive charges disabled their communication systems. Then the humans emerged from vents and maintenance hatches, using weapons designed specifically to penetrate alien armor at its weakest points. Within 20 minutes, the entire outpost was under human control. None of the aliens had managed to send a distress signal. Similar operations occurred at 3 other coalition bases. By the time General Tark of the Coalition Defense Force realized something was wrong, 4 outposts had gone silent. It must be equipment failure, Tark told his officers, mandibles clicking in irritation. The humans don't have the capability to attack our bases, but when the 5th base fell, even Tark had to admit something was happening. Send reinforcements to all outposts, he ordered, and double the guards. The reinforcements arrived to find empty bases. The humans had disappeared, taking with them critical coalition technology and intelligence. On Earth, Colonel Bay analyzed the captured data. We have their complete communication codes, he reported, and Captain Min's team captured their fleet deployment plans. The coalition response was swift and angry. Ambassador Koth demanded an emergency meeting with Earth's leaders. Return our bases and surrender those responsible, he thundered, towering over the human diplomats. Or face the consequences. President Park looked up at the massive alien without fear. We don't know what you're talking about, Ambassador. Perhaps your forces simply abandoned their posts. Koth's 4 eyes narrowed. You mock us? Your tiny army cannot hope to stand against the full might of the coalition. We never attacked anyone, Park replied calmly. We're a peaceful species, remember? Too small to be a threat. As the diplomatic crisis escalated, the Coalition moved its main battle fleet into Earth's solar system. Massive dreadnoughts positioned themselves near Earth's moon, a show of force meant to intimidate. General Tark addressed his battle commanders from his flagship. The humans have somehow gotten lucky with a few small outposts. They will learn what happens when they challenge real military power. But Tark's confidence wavered when reports came in of strange malfunctions across the fleet. Communication systems failed. Navigation computers showed errors. Some ships reported brief power outages. Unknown to the Coalition, human infiltration teams had already boarded many of their vessels. Moving through maintenance tunnels and air ducts, they planted devices designed to disrupt Coalition technology. In his command center, Admiral Kim watched the Coalition fleet's confusion with satisfaction. They still don't understand, he told his officers. They think strength comes only from size. Major Song's team, meanwhile, had infiltrated General Tark's own flagship. Hidden in a maintenance shaft, Song watched Coalition officers rushing to address the growing crisis. They're panicking, he reported quietly. They've never faced an enemy they couldn't see. As night fell on Earth, President Park addressed the nation. We have been patient, we have been diplomatic, but the Coalition has mistaken our restraint for weakness. They will soon learn that humans should not be underestimated because of our size. The breaking point had been reached. The real war was about to begin. Commander Yoon stood before the Joint Chiefs in the underground war room, pointing to diagrams of Coalition ships on the large screen. The room was silent as military leaders studied the enemy's weaknesses. Their entire communication network has significant vulnerabilities, Yoon explained. Their encryption was designed to prevent interception by known Coalition species, not humans. Our smaller brainwave patterns operate at frequencies they never thought to protect against. Admiral Kim nodded. How soon can we exploit this? We already are, Yoon replied with a slight smile. We've been listening to their command communications for the past week. We know every move they plan to make. The counteroffensive began that night. 1,000 small human ships launched from hidden bases on Earth's moon and asteroids throughout the solar system. Each vessel was barely 1/3 the size of standard Coalition fighters, making them difficult for alien sensors to detect. From his command chair on the Earth flagship Defiant, Admiral Kim watched as the human fleet moved silently toward the massive Coalition armada. Remember, all ships maintain stealth approach, Kim ordered. Do not engage until you reach your designated targets. The Coalition fleet continued its patrol, unaware of the approaching danger. Their sensors, calibrated to detect ships of their own massive size, failed to notice the smaller human vessels slipping between their formations. On the Coalition command ship Iron Mountain, General Voss stood confidently on the bridge. It was Voss who had first mockingly called Earth's forces the tiny army, a joke that had spread throughout Coalition space. The humans have gone quiet, Voss told his officers. Perhaps they finally understand the futility of resistance. That moment, alarms began blaring across his ship. What's happening? Voss demanded. Internal security breach, an officer reported, confusion in his voice. Multiple decks report intruders, but that's impossible. No ships have docked with us. Human Special Forces teams, led by Captain Nam, had entered the massive Coalition warship through thermal exhaust ports and maintenance hatches. These openings, while small by Coalition standards, were more than large enough for human soldiers to pass through. Nam's team moved quickly through maintenance tunnels, planting explosive devices at key structural points and disabling weapon systems. Similar teams infiltrated 50 other Coalition capital ships simultaneously. General Voss ordered his security forces to find the intruders, but the massive Trilaxian guards struggled to pursue humans through spaces they could barely fit their arms into. Coalition soldiers fired enormous weapons down corridors, missing the quick-moving humans who ducked into vents and service tunnels. On the command deck, Voss heard the security breach alarms spreading throughout his ship. Suddenly, the bridge. Doors opened and Major Jin entered with her strike team. They had climbed 20 decks through elevator shafts too narrow for Coalition security to follow. Impossible, Voss gasped, reaching for his weapon. Major Jin smiled. No, just human. Across the Coalition fleet, similar scenes played out. Ship after ship reported internal breaches as human forces appeared seemingly from nowhere. The aliens, massive weapons designed to destroy targets at great distances, proved ineffective in the close quarters of their own vessels. Admiral Dren of the Coalition's Third Fleet watched in growing horror as more of his ships reported systems failures and internal fighting. How are they doing this? He demanded of his tactical officer. The officer reviewed security footage showing humans moving through maintenance spaces barely half a meter wide. Spaces the Coalition engineers had never considered could be used for infiltration. They're not tiny, the officer whispered as understanding dawned. We're enormous. Our ships are built with gaps and spaces they can use against us. By dawn, Earth time, 30 Coalition capital ships had been captured or disabled. The remaining vessels pulled back, retreating to a defensive position near Jupiter. In a secure communication room, Admiral Kim spoke with President Park. Phase 1 complete, he reported. Coalition forces are in disarray. They've never faced an enemy that could penetrate their defenses so easily. Casualties? Park asked. Minimal on both sides, Kim replied. Our objective was to disable, not destroy. We want them to understand that we could have caused much more damage if we'd chosen to. As proof of this claim, Major Jin's team had placed explosive devices near the Coalition flagship's power core, but had deliberately not detonated them. They left behind a simple message in Coalition language. We could have destroyed this vessel. Remember this, Mercy. On the Defiant, Admiral Kim prepared for the next phase of the counteroffensive. Earth's smaller, more agile ships had proven their worth against the Coalition's massive but slower vessels. They built their entire military assuming all threats would come from beings their size or larger, Kim told his officers. That fundamental mistake will cost them this war. As the human fleet regrouped, Coalition commanders held an emergency meeting. For the first time they spoke of the humans not with derision, but with growing respect and fear. The tiny army had proven that sometimes, smaller is better. The Coalition gathered its largest battle force ever assembled in the space near Jupiter. 50 enormous dreadnoughts formed a massive wall of firepower, their weapons capable of destroying small moons. Behind them floated over 200 support vessels. General Tark addressed the combined fleet from his new flagship, the Dominant. His previous command ship remained under human control. Today we end this humiliation, Tark told his commanders. The humans have used tricks and stealth to achieve small victories. Now they will face our full strength in open battle. Unknown to Tark, every word was heard by Admiral Kim aboard the Earth flagship Defiant. The human fleet appeared much smaller, 500 vessels, each fraction the size of Coalition ships. They still think size determines victory, Kim told his captains during their final briefing. Let's show them what humans can really do. As the massive Coalition armada advanced toward Earth, Kim implemented the battle plan they had prepared for months. Instead of forming a traditional defensive line, the human ships scattered into seemingly random patterns. What are they doing? Tark demanded as he watched the human formations break apart. They flee before us. His tactical officer was less certain. Sir, their movements appear coordinated. I've never seen such a formation. Coalition ships fired. Their enormous weapons, energy beams capable of cutting through mountains. But the smaller, faster human vessels darted between the blasts, using maneuvers no Coalition pilot could match. Then the human counterattack began. Small ships attacked in precise groups of 5, targeting the same points on Coalition vessels. Their weapons were smaller, but aimed at specific vulnerabilities human intelligence had identified. Dreadnought 7 reports shield failure in Section 12, a Coalition officer called out. Dreadnought 13 has lost engine power, reported another. Tark slammed his massive fist on his command console. Impossible. How can such small weapons cause this damage? The answer came soon enough. Human ships weren't just attacking from outside. Special boarding teams had already infiltrated many Coalition vessels before the battle began, hiding in maintenance shafts and air ducts. As the space battle raged, these teams emerged to disable critical systems from within. On the Dominant, Tark received increasingly desperate reports. 10 dreadnoughts disabled, then 20. Coalition ships fired at empty space as human vessels moved faster than their targeting systems could track. "Sir," called a panicked officer, "internal sensors detect movement in the ventilation system." Before Tark could respond, Captain Min and her team emerged on the bridge. They had spent hours crawling through spaces the Coalition engineers had considered purely decorative, small gaps between hull sections that were perfect pathways for human soldiers. "Surrender your vessel," Min told the shocked Tark. Within hours, the battle was over. The mighty Coalition fleet retreated in disarray, leaving their flagship and 30 other vessels under human control. 3 days later, Ambassador Koth entered the treaty hall on Earth's moon. The massive alien no longer towered over the human delegation with the same intimidating presence. He seemed smaller somehow, humbled by recent events. President Park and Admiral Kim waited at the negotiation table, their faces showing no triumph or arrogance. "The Coalition is prepared to recognize Earth as a sovereign equal," Koth began, his voice lacking its former confidence. "We have reconsidered our previous assessment of human capabilities." President Park nodded. "We are pleased to hear this." The Treaty of Luna was signed that day. It recognized Earth's independence and established new rules for Coalition interactions with smaller species throughout the galaxy. After the ceremony, Koth approached Admiral Kim privately. "We underestimated you," he admitted. "A mistake we won't make again." "Size isn't everything, Ambassador," Kim replied. "Sometimes being small has advantages." Throughout Coalition space, military academies began studying human tactics. Engineering firms redesigned ships to prevent human-sized infiltration. Security systems were recalibrated to detect smaller beings. 6 months later, General Choi led the first joint human Coalition military exercise. Coalition officers watched with new respect as human soldiers demonstrated their unique capabilities. For generations, the Coalition believed that evolutionary success meant growing larger and stronger, Choi told the assembled aliens. Humans took a different path. We remained small but developed adaptability, ingenuity, and cooperation. A Trilaxian commander nodded. "We build our ships assuming all threats would be our size or larger. We never considered that smaller could be an advantage." The term tiny army remained in use throughout Coalition space, but its meaning had transformed completely. What once was mockery had become a term of respect, even fear. In the new Joint Species Council chamber, Earth held equal voting rights, with races 3 times their size. When human representatives spoke, Coalition members listened carefully. The species once dismissed as too small to matter had proven that true strength isn't measured in feet and inches, as Admiral Kim told a group of new human recruits. "They laughed at our size until they realized that sometimes the smallest